Hey, greetings everyone out there. Thanks for tuning in. It's the Amazing Fleck, and of course, Lucy the cat, my faithful companion and manager. If you're new to my channel, you should probably know that I am all over the place with my many interests. So you might want to check out my playlist section to find something that may pique your interest. Every Sunday I post a new tutorial on something to do with the circus and flow arts. So if you want to learn how to contact juggle, or even toss juggle, or learn how to use devil sticks, or maybe even learn how to walk slack lines, then check out my playlist for circus and flow arts tutorials. But if you're interested in multi-platform open source software programs, keep watching. I bet you didn't know that you pay way too much for your software. You can trust me, I'm a stranger. You can also trust me because I'm not selling anything and no one sponsors me. Today I'm here to tell you about easy to use, accessible, multi-platform, free open source software programs. That's a mouthful. What does that even mean, right? Well, I'm pretty sure we all get the idea of what easy to use and accessible means. Multi-platform. This means that you can use it on Windows, Macintosh operating system, as well as Linux. And free means exactly that. It's free. But not just free as in you don't have to pay any money for the program, but it's also free for you to use in any way you want to use it. And open source just refers to the fact that you can look inside the program, you can look at the source code, or the code that they used in order to make the program. And you can look at it and you can modify it and change it because it's completely free for you to use, share, study, and modify free open source software. So many of us are conditioned because of marketing and advertising that we have to pay money for all the software and all the things that we need on a computer. It's interesting, many people think that when you buy a program, you actually own it, when in fact you're only leasing it. Windows is a really good example of this. Windows is a software that you actually lease. So you're not actually purchasing the software, you're purchasing the rights to be able to use the software. And Windows retains full rights in order to change and modify the software. So a big advantage of Linux and other open source software programs is that when you use it, you're allowed to use it any way you like and modify it any way you like. Well, marketing and advertising is a really strong force. And it's got a lot of us thinking that we need Windows or we need Macintosh operating system. The idea of trying to use Linux or some other operating system is intimidating for a lot of people who just want to get online and check their email or go to their popular social media websites and post about cats or whatever they're interested in. I'm interested in cats. And I'm also interested in software and computers. So it's good to consider the pros and cons of free open source software before we go any further. So one of the biggest advantages of free open source software is that it's free. You don't have to pay for it, and it's free for you to use any way you need to. They are also generally very skillfully made by quality software engineers and coders. And because of this, they're very much highly reliable and well tested and experimented with and debugged. And probably one of my favorite elements of it, because it's open source, it's trusted code. There's ethical hackers and there's unethical hackers out there in the world. Ethical hackers like to find problems and solve them. Unethical hackers like to find problems and extort them for their own gain. So when the source code's completely open, that's kind of like a double-edged sword, right? Because then you can look at the source code and you can determine this is a good program, it doesn't contain any sort of trojans or malware that might threaten or compromise my personal security, or spy on me, or take advantage of me in any sort of way. When it's open source, you can see exactly what the program does. And on the other hand, as far as the cons go, it makes it much more vulnerable. Because the source code is open, bad hackers can look at it and they can extort those programs for their own gain and benefit. Another con of free open source software is that they may not be so user-friendly, at least maybe not as user-friendly as the big brand name computer software program packages out there. Another con is they generally don't come with a lot of tech support. When you pay for a product or service to a company, the company wants you to have a high level of satisfaction. With free open source software, unfortunately, you don't get as much of that support. However, there's a lot of really good people out there that'd be more than happy to help you out with any issues you have in that software. And the best of the best open source software rises to the top and gets a lot of recognition and eventually acquires a good reputation for its ease of use and its quality performance. And I think another disadvantage to using open source software is that the legal liability is all put on you, the user of the program. When you're using any sort of free open source software, you suddenly are taking full responsibility for your own actions. Now, I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I think it's important that people should take responsibility for their own actions. And if you used a computer software program in the wrong way or it compromised your data in some way, then that's on you. So use all these software programs at your own risk. So how did free open source software even become a thing in the first place? I mean, we live in a capitalist society. We have to make money. We don't sit there and code all day at a computer keyboard so other people can utilize the fruits of our hard labor, right? Of course not, but let me tell you about what the GNU project is. The GNU project is a funny acronym. It stands for GNU's Not Unix. If you don't know what Unix is an operating system that goes way back before Windows and Macintosh operating system started. GNU is a free software mass collaboration movement. A fellow named Richard Stallman started this project, I think in September of 1983. 1983, that's when I was born, so we know that this project's about 37 years old. Or 38, because September's right around the corner. Some of the goals of this project involve giving computer users free range and full control over their devices by collaborating with a bunch of other coders and software engineers to create software that people can feel free to use, share, study, and modify any way they like, giving you full control over your computer and what you can do with it. And for this project to happen to the full extent that they wanted it to happen, they needed to make an operating system that was also free and open source. So in January of 1984, they started the project, and by 1991, Linux was born. Linux was the very first free open source operating system for computer users, at least that we know of. So now that we know a little bit of history about what free open source software is, I'd like to share with you 6 of my most favorite free open source software programs that are also multi-platform that you can use on Windows, Macintosh, and Linux. And you have full rights over using it in any way you like. It's a really cool concept. The first one I'd like to talk about is called Shotcut. Shotcut is a wonderful video editing program. At first glance, it can be a little intimidating just by looking at it because all it is gray boxes and text and various little tabs. You'd be very surprised what you can learn in about 5 or 10 minutes if you watch a tutorial video on learning the basics of Shotcut. I think it's a wonderful program. They have plenty of different filters and different ways you can cut, copy, paste, move, alter. You can have a number of different video channels and a number of different audio channels. You can blend them together. You can raise and lower sound levels. You can play with the saturation and the brightness. And if all that just sounds like mumbo jumbo to you, don't worry. If you just want to take video and you just want to move stuff around and cut different clips together, this is a great program for you, and it doesn't cost you a thin dime. So before you go out and just shell out a bunch of money buying the latest, greatest version of DaVinci Resolve, try looking at Shotcut first. And there's a YouTube tutorial out there for all of these programs I'm about to talk about. The second program I'd like to tell you about is called OBS, or Open Broadcast Software. This little program's pretty amazing for what it is. This is a cool little program that allows you to either stream or record your media, whether it's video or audio. It'll record your audio input or even output from your computer. You can use it to record the display of your monitor. You can use it to record what's happening inside your web browser or even a specific window. You can record what's happening on your webcam, whether it's inside your laptop or even if you have an external webcam. It's amazing all the different things you can do with this program. It's a bit overwhelming at first, of course, but after you use it a couple times, it becomes pretty intuitive and really easy to use. So if you're interested in recording any media, whether it's video, audio, or even if you want to start streaming stuff, OBS is a great choice for you. Number 3, LMMS. LMMS is a digital audio workstation program. This is a great program for any aspiring music producers out there. In this program, you have access to drum machines, special effects, synthesizers, MIDIs, loops. There's even a piano roll, so you can add notes and change the pitch of different sounds and MIDIs and waves. Substitute from something like Ableton or Fruity Loops. It doesn't cost you a thin dime, and it also comes with a bunch of pre-packaged sounds that you can use freely to create your own music projects. The fourth program is called Audacity. Audacity is an audio recording and editing software program. I'd say it's a pretty intuitive program once you get used to using it. It's not as pretty as some other of these programs out there that you might pay for, but once again, this is a free program, so you get what you pay for. And in this case, I think you get a lot more than what you pay for. Just because it's free doesn't mean that it's cheap. This program will get the job done for you. You can cut, copy, paste, move around your WAV files. You can add effects, you can reduce noise. You can do all kinds of stuff with this program. You gotta check it out if you're interested in editing any sort of audio files. The fifth program is called GIMP. GIMP stands for GNU Image Manipulation Program. This is a really cool alternative to Adobe Photoshop. It's an image editing program. You can do just about everything that Adobe Photoshop can do, but this one's absolutely free to use. A really cool thing about this particular program is that there's a version of it that almost mimics Adobe Photoshop's interface. So if you're looking to get away from using Adobe Photoshop, you can get the right version of GIMP and you'll feel right at home. So if you're interested in learning graphic design and you don't want to shell out a bunch of money buying an expensive software program, try the GIMP. It's absolutely free and it's fun to play with if you like to play around with graphic design stuff. Number 6, OpenOffice. OpenOffice is a wonderful alternative to Microsoft Office. It's got everything that Microsoft Office has and they have their own versions of it, and it's absolutely free. If you were anything like me, when I went to college, I was broke as a joke. I still kind of am right now, but OpenOffice was a wonderful alternative to Microsoft Office for me. I was able to get all my homework done and do everything I needed to do with PowerPoint and Excel spreadsheets, and of course the word processing. And those are 6 of my favorite free open source software programs. I've used all of them a little bit, but right now the ones I use the most are Shotcut, OBS, and LMMS. Because if you're new to this channel, I made a promise to my viewers and myself that I would post a new video every single day of this year on YouTube. And I didn't know anything about recording, editing, streaming, media in general at the beginning of this year. And I've learned a lot so far thanks to tutorials online and these wonderful open source software programs that are easy to use and absolutely free. Yeah, I think it's a myth that you have to spend money to have a good time and that you have to spend money to get things done. We have at our fingertips all of the world's knowledge thanks to the internet, and we have at our fingertips all of these wonderful software programs that we can use to make our dreams come true. If you have a vision up in your head and you want to make something happen, whether it's a music project, a movie, some graphic design projects, or anything else like that involving computers to make your product, we have all the resources we need and we don't need to pay a thin dime for any of it. If you're interested in learning more about what the GNU project is, more about multi-platform free open source software, then please check the description down below and I'll give you a bunch of links to different places where you can read up more information. It's an amazing time to be alive, folks. It's an amazing time to be alive. Right, Lucy? She's sleeping. Shh. All right, everyone. Thanks for stopping by. Lucy fell asleep and I got a lot of video editing to do. It's been a long day. I got stuck in a ditch earlier and I had my little brother tow me out. Thanks, Dennis. I owe you one, buddy. So I got a long night ahead of me before I can get some sleep. So remember, everyone out there, to keep safe, be well, stay humble,